Welcome everybody to Three Wide in the Middle, your home for all things racing, of course, with me, Thomas Brandon, and my man, Keith Bradley. Keith, how's it going?
What is up?
Oh,
How are
not
you?
much. Yeah, just busy. Busy as all can be, man.
I hear
Holiday
you.
season, getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah,
So,
we're ramping up in our house.
yeah, it's funny because right now my son is going through catechism, which is, in the Catholic Church, catechism is like their schooling that you have to do in order to take your first communion, right? So there's a bunch of stuff that they have to learn. I mean, it's literally a school. It's like a school program. Now, catechism. When I was a kid, and I had friends who did catechism, it was like every Sunday morning, right? Like you went to you went to church, you had the catechism, the parents had the service or whatever, and then that was it. And it was like every Sunday for however long they did it. And then when my daughter went through it about, probably 7, 8 years ago, when she went through it, it was the first Tuesday of every month for a year. Or no, excuse me, it was every Tuesday for a year. So it was, yeah, every Tuesday for a year. Now it's the first Tuesday of the month for 2 years. So the first Tuesday or second Tuesday, it's one of the two, first or second Tuesday. I don't know. My wife just tells me when we got to go. I don't know exactly when it is, but it's it's once a month for 2 years. And we've been doing this now. We've only gone to a couple of them. And luckily, my son really likes it. He enjoys it. He loves his teacher and stuff. So that's cool. But me and my wife also have to go. So while my son is in his class, we're in the church learning all this stuff too for the family and all these things like this. And I say all that because when we were there this last week, they were talking about Christmas and how Christmas has gotten all commercialized, all the stuff like this. Same thing that people have been saying for the last, I don't know, 100 years, 50 years, whatever. They were saying it when I was a kid. And they were talking about when it comes to presents for the kids, right? And the whole story of the three wise men and stuff like that, that there's families now in the church who give their kids only three gifts. And the three gifts are essentially something the kid wants, something the kid needs, and then basically just whatever, another one that the parents just choose. And, lately, as everybody knows, prices, things have been kind of crazy lately. And so we got out of there and we got my son. We were like, hey, buddy, guess what? Three presents for Christmas. Well, I'm like, we've been told by God, buddy, so you're only getting three this year. He was like, that's fine. So I got one for him yesterday. We still got to get the other two, but yeah, so something good came out of it for us. But yeah, because I'm not Catholic. That's the thing. I'm not Catholic. My wife's Catholic. Her family, because they're from Mexico, like, and it's huge there. Like the Catholic Church is so intertwined with the culture down there. It's even the narcos, right, that are shooting up malls and dealing drugs, like they're big into the church. It's the craziest thing. It's like part of just life down there. And so it's a big deal for my wife that, our son was baptized Catholic and all this stuff like this. And so I'm like, that's fine. I don't care. Right. Whatever. We'll do it. Fine with me. So yeah, that's what we've been doing. That's what we had to do this week. But yeah, so fun times getting ready for the holidays. But anyways, got a bunch of new stuff to cover. A lot of stuff happening on the dirt side. The last week or two, we got big announcements by World Racing Group. High Limit has announced some of their schedule. They're kind of trickling it out, like 2 to 3 races at a time. I thought they were just going to drop the whole schedule, but they've been just giving us like a couple of shows every few days. Big announcement out of Eldora, which is awesome. Can't wait to talk about that. Lucas Oil Late Model Series is going to be changing up their point system and implementing a NASCAR style chase. So we got to cover that as well. And yeah, and we'll see how that goes. Now, if for those of you guys, we got the Chili Bowl coming up, not this show, but in our next show, which is 2 weeks from now on the 29th. That's going to be our Chili Bowl show. We're going to be basically doing a whole thing on the Chili Bowl. We'll be covering all the drivers, who we like, who we don't like, dark horses, favorites, all that other type of stuff. Because we're still waiting to see on who's going to race. Kyle Larson, Brad Sweet, like those guys. David Gravel's another one that have been pretty vocal that they're sitting it out. They don't think the purse is worth it. But there's a few others that have not got on. They're not entered yet. And so until we actually got that list of drivers pretty much locked in, we're gonna wait and see on that. But before we get into all the dirt news, there's something that I wanted to cover here in the open of today's show, because if you remember, and Keith, I know you remember, at the beginning of the year, right before the NASCAR season started, and we were talking about, things that drive us nuts and ways that they could, get people back, right? We were all looking forward to this new car. NASCAR had just announced that they were going to be going with the higher horsepower, lower downforce, which was obviously a smart decision on their part. And we were talking about what they could do to help grow the sport, get some people back into the sport. And one of the things that me and Keith were talking about was the Formula One show, Drive to Survive. And basically both of us were like, look, find whoever created that, hire them to do the same thing for NASCAR. Well, NASCAR pretty much did that. They had the NASCAR Race for the Championship show. Now, it was on USA, and they did it a little bit different, which I actually liked. And I binge watched the whole thing about a week and a half ago. Now, Keith, I told you you had to check it out. And did you have a chance to see any of it?
Yeah, I got to watch a couple episodes, and then I got real busy. And then I'm going to binge watch the rest of it. Yeah. It's pretty good.
It is. They did a good job with it. Now, one of the biggest differences was, the Formula One show, the Drive to Survive show, the way that they do it is they essentially follow them around for the entire season. They record everything. They're just gathering as much as they possibly can throughout the entire season. And then when the season ends, they go back and they kind of figure out like what was the main story that we want to focus on. They essentially edit to what they are trying to get out of the show. A great example of this was the 2021 season in F1, right? The primary story was Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Right? The first time Lewis Hamilton was being legitimately challenged for the championship. And of course, right? I mean, Netflix, and the producers of the show could not have been happier to have that season end the way that it did, with the controversy and everything else. Well, after they gather everything up, they got everything recorded. They're going to go in there and they're going to edit everything together, and they're going to create this story out of all the stuff that they've gotten. What NASCAR did was a little bit different. So as this season was going on, they had episodes coming out. If you actually watch the show, they had, each episode, because I think there's like 10 episodes total. Each episode covered a couple of weeks, right? And they did a really good job on it. And the thing that they did the best job on was getting to know the drivers. And this was something that I really harped on at the beginning of the season. You've got to get to know these people. You have to, if you want people to invest in your product, the best way to do it is to create a relationship with them. You have to get them invested into the people. You have to get them invested into the characters, right? The greatest example of this of all time, right, is the Marvel movies, right? The whole Marvel universe. And when they did, spoiler alert, folks, if you haven't seen this yet, but in Infinity War, when Thanos snaps his finger and half of the people are just gone, and of those people that are just now just disappeared, vanished, are a lot of the main characters, the heroes that you've been watching for the last 10 years. And there were people in the theaters like distraught, crying, could not believe it, because they had become so invested in these characters. Okay. And that's fiction. right? Like we know that's fiction. When you can do that on a real world level, it adds an extra element to it that people will 100% sell out for. It's why you have people so dedicated to their football team, right? Their NFL team or their basketball team or whatever, right? Keith, what's your football team? Bengals?
Yep.
Bengals, right? Every Bengals fan out there, I would bet you dollars to pesos right now, they have never been more invested. Under a certain age, right? If you're under 50, they've never been more invested in a team than they are right now with this Bengals team. And it's not just because they're good. It's because of the people on the, look at the characters, right? Joe Burrow is a throwback. The dude is like, you know, the 21st century's version of Joe Namath. He's also way better, but you know what I mean? He's got that swag, you know, he's, approachable. People like him. He's humble, but yet he's also got this confidence to him, this edge to him. Jamar Chase is a straight baller, right? The dude's a stud, but he's also got this likable factor to him. Like you go down the team, people can invest into those players in a way that they haven't been able to before. And when you can create that, like I said, it adds an extra layer to it. And NASCAR has finally done that with this show. And the whole reason I bring this up is because of two people. And the show does a really good job of highlighting these two people and showing another side of them that you would never get to see. And two of these two guys are people who kind of dominated our news for about 6 months, right, Keith? I mean, we talked a lot about Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain this last season.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah, whether it was good or bad.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of it was for different reasons, right? Ross Chastain kind of comes in and takes the series by storm, right? Does a lot of stuff. I mean, we had the whole Ross Chastain don't give a fuck tour, you know what I mean? But Kyle Busch, you know, I mean, obviously it's Kyle Busch, but also we had this contract saga hanging over his head the entire season and Eminem's leaving. And there's a lot of people that don't like Kyle Busch, and rightfully so, right? I mean, let's be honest. Okay, when it comes to Kyle Busch on the track, he hasn't done himself a lot of favors when it comes to making himself a likable person. But in this series, it was a really cool thing to see the other side of Kyle Busch. His wife makes the comment that, you know, there's Kyle on the track and then there's Kyle at home. And he really is two completely different people. And it was a really cool thing to see. And it was also just eye-opening to see him as emotional as he was after the whole Joe Gibbs thing falls through. Like that was you could see that it really bothered him, as that's to be expected, right? Like he said, Joe Gibbs had been there for him through all the good and the bad, right? I mean, you look at what Kyle Busch's career was going into Joe Gibbs Racing, right? He had just left Hendrick. He was considered kind of this like, you know, just troublemaker, right? Like the dude's got an insane amount of talent, but is he ever going to get out of his own way type of thing? And, you know, the coach, right? I mean, really kind of got him on the right track and he turned into a champion, right? He's one of the best drivers to ever run in the NASCAR circuit. I mean, without question, right? The dude won more races across multiple series, right? In like a decade than like anybody ever has. Like it's been absolutely insane. And to see the human side of him, right? Not the guy on the track who's the jerk and running people over and doing anything it takes to win, but to see the human side of him was really, really cool. And they did a really, really good job with it. The best part about the show though was Ross Chastain. And to see, and Keith, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, man, if I say stuff here, but to see the side, Ross Chastain is who I thought Ross Chastain was. And to actually see it was awesome. The dude's literally farming watermelon in between races. It's absolutely amazing.
No surprise.
It's absolutely amazing. And probably my favorite part of the whole show was it's towards the end of the series, and it actually shows, we all know the Chastain's move at Martinsville. It was, in my opinion, the greatest pass ever made. passes because you got to run multiple cars. And to see him and Justin Marks, a team owner, to see those guys watching it in real time, to see the shock on, to see the behind the scenes stuff was amazing. It really was. And I am now more excited for next season, and I'm also much more invested into Trackhouse Racing. I really am. Like, that's what that show did. And that's the point that I was trying to get across at the beginning of the year when me and Keith were saying they needed to do something like this, because that's what can happen. And keep in mind, you guys, I have done this stuff for 10 years now. I have studied things like storytelling and marketing and influence and persuasion. I know this stuff really, really well. And I know how it works. And I know when it's being done to me as this show is doing it. And I love it. I absolutely love it, because when it's done correctly, as it was with this show, you walk away from it feeling much better about not only what you saw, but now what you ultimately care a lot more about. And that is what they did this year with that show. And I'm really hoping they're going to keep doing it, because to me, it can only help the product that they have. It cannot hurt it. All right, so big news coming out of the World Racing Group, which is the group that runs the World of Outlaws. As you guys know, money has been a big topic as of late. There's been a lot of talk about the split, what it should be. Drivers. Sheldon Haudenschild did an interview, which obviously got a lot of people, raised a lot of eyebrows. Got a lot of people kind of opened up people's eyes to what the costs are, and then also what they're getting in return. And, Sheldon makes a very good point when he's like, dude, look, at $10,000 to win. I mean, he's like, that's what it's been for 30 years, right? Like, it's been that forever. Shouldn't we see that increased? Because obviously the costs of it have increased. And there was a guy on YouTube. I don't know his name, but I want to give his channel credit. I think it's called Dirt Tracker Daily.
Yeah.
Yep. He did a breakdown of the costs on what it takes to run an outlaw team, just to run the team. And that's not the startup. That's not anything like that. And he came up with the figure that was about $650,000 a year. Now, David Gravel actually did a podcast and kind of went through some of that stuff and kind of enlightened on some things. Because the guy said when he did it, he was like, look, this is just information that I'm getting. I don't know for sure. And David Gravel was saying actually the maintenance fees for the motor and stuff should be, about $100,000, not 50, that type of thing. And so I think the total came out to be closer to $750,000 to $800,000 a year. Now that's a lot of money to run a team. Okay. That's a lot of money. And you got to think that last season, Brad Sweet, right? They won the championship for the 4th year in a row. And that championship to the driver was $200,000, right? Now he gets a percentage, right? We talked about this before, where the drivers, the top drivers, they will usually have some kind of contract where they either get paid a salary and then a percentage of the winnings, or they just get a bigger percentage of the winnings and no salary, right? Like there's different ways of doing it. But the top guy, someone like Brad Sweet, he's going to be paid a salary. Usually it's a salary. And then he gets a percentage of the winnings. So that $200,000, he's getting a percentage of that. Well, that even if the team kept all of that, that's not putting a dent in $750K, right? It's just not. So these teams want to get more money, and they should. Okay, we've talked about this before. They should. When you look at the Dirt Vision and the Flow Racing and all the streaming stuff out there and what it costs to get one of those memberships, and the just astronomical amount of dirt fans that have those memberships, there's a lot of money going to those streamers and going to those deals. And just like we've seen with Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, and stuff like that, these rights are going to continue to go up. They're going to continue to rise. And we need to see that financial floor increase for these top series as well. So the World Racing Group came out and they have upped their game. They also have redid their platinum membership agreement. And now they've got it looks like some bigger bonuses and some bigger payouts, which is a really good thing. A lot of this is not only driven by the drivers saying, hey, look, we need some more money, but also when you look at like the High Limit series, that's, with Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet, their thing that they've got going on where you're seeing these races paying just the regular shows paying double, right? 20K. This has got the World Racing Group, having to respond, which is a good thing, right? Competition is what we want. That requires you to be better. You can't just sit back on your, rest on your laurels and just expect things to just be the best, be awesome forever and you're not improving, right? You've got to get better. And that's what they're hopefully doing with this. So Keith, have you seen this new points fund with the exclusivity bonus and everything?
Yeah, and I think it's a move in the right direction. I think they're getting closer to where they need to be because these teams make hardly nothing.
Yes, exactly.
And it appalls me that they continue to race for 10,000 to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, me personally, I think it's hard for a smaller team to survive.
It is. And it's sad because, the Outlaw Tour, right? If we really think about it, and it's been this way for as long as I can remember, but it's always been, 7 to 10 cars, right? Teams, drivers, where like that was the Outlaw Tour, right? Obviously you have guys who might run the majority of the season. You have guys who might run half the season, but in terms of the guys who are like, look, I'm running the full Outlaw Tour, it's usually between like 7 and 10 teams. And what makes it good, obviously, right, knowing that those guys are coming to town, right? It's like the 10 best rent car drivers in the world, right? Or the Outlaws, right? That's awesome, but it's also really cool when you've got those teams that are, the secondary teams, right? They're not Casey Kane Racing. They're one step below, and they might not run the whole 78 shows or whatever it is. They might run 60. And for them to compete, right, that money's got to be there because for them, it's survival. A lot of those teams, right, they don't have Napa, sponsoring them or CarQuest or NOS Energy Drink, right? They don't have those big time sponsors. So for them to do this and make it more enticing, I'm with you. I think it's a step in the right direction. Now, the twist to this though is it is an exclusivity bonus. All right. That's the thing that you need to understand. So what they did is they went out and they essentially kind of reworked their platinum agreement. All right. And the platinum agreement now will allow, it has a 4 race exemption. Okay. So what they're basically saying is that teams can run 4 non-World of Outlaw race nights and they can still earn the increased fun as long as those events are outside of 48 hours or 100-mile radius on either side of the scheduled event. Okay. So for example, let's say, I'll use my location out here. Outlaws are in town and they've got the Gold Cup. Okay. Gold Cup is usually 3 nights. It's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Well, let's say on Monday night, for whatever reason, right, down at Hanford, they're running a, King of the West show, and it happens to be a big King of the West show, and it's paying $20,000. Well, if these guys want to, they can run that show and still be okay. They're not violating their agreement to only run the outlaw shows. They can go run those shows. That's what this agreement allows. And if they run more than that, because here's the thing, you can actually still run more than 4 races and get that fund. You just can't get all of it. So drivers and teams can elect to run 5 to 8 races of the same condition and still earn points and earn the previously announced fund. But from my understanding, it sounds like it's a percentage. So I don't have the actual agreement. I just have the press release about it. Obviously, I'm sure there's some details in there that are specific to situations. But overall, what this does is this exclusivity bonus now takes the points fund and almost doubles it. So, for example, last year, like we talked about, Brad Sweet won the championship. He got $200,000 for the championship. Okay. Let's just say this year, right? The exact same thing happens. Brad Sweet wins. David Gravel finishes second. David Gravel will earn more finishing second place this year than Brad Sweet got the previous year for winning. That's how much this has increased it. The exclusivity bonus for the top spot for first place in the championship is $150,000. So that would be $350K to the winner, as long as they don't violate that agreement, right? They don't race more than 4 of those non-sanctioned events. Second place is $210, third is $140, fourth is $122, fifth is $113. And in fact, it's over $100,000 all the way to 8th place, and the top 10, like 10th place, will get $87,500, which is that's a $37,500 increase over last season. So that's a big jump in terms of money. And it's definitely going to make it much more enticing for these guys who have been talking about running multiple series, right? Outlaws are trying to hold on to their outlaws, right? The tour's trying to keep these guys in-house. So Keith, what do you think is going to do you think we're going to see, because I know that there's been some rumors that some of these guys might just start picking and choose, they might go the Jonathan Davenport way and just start picking and choosing what they run instead of racing for points and just race for the money.
I think you'll see a split in it. I really do. I think you'll see the guys that know that they can't win the World of Outlaw Championship, but they can win races. I think you'll see guys, like I just said, split it. They'll cherry pick basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't blame the guys for doing it. I mean, we've seen Jonathan Davenport win $2 million this past season.
Yeah.
And just cherry picking. And sometimes that's the smartest way to do it. And if you want to do it as a living and make really good money at it, you damn near need to just cherry pick.
Yep.
Because I truly believe that it'll cost more money traveling with one certain series all across the country than it will be to, well, let's go race here one weekend or let's go here the following weekend.
Yeah.
If it was me, that's what I would do.
Yeah, me too. See, that's the thing. Unless I had one of those top rides where I was on a salary and I got a percentage of my winnings, right? So unless I'm in that type of situation, I'm with you. If I'm running, if it's my team or I've got a ride for somebody, but I'm not on a salary, I'm just getting the winnings, that I'm with you. I would be doing the same thing. It would be like, hey man, there's a 25,000 to win show over here and there's a 10,000 to win outlaw show. Let's go hit the 25K, right? So I'm with you. I would do the same thing. I think you're right. I do think we'll see a few of those guys do that. Will we see any of the top guys? It'll be interesting to see if any of the guys who finished essentially top 5 in points last season, right? Because I really think that would be the I'm thinking that's kind of going to be the cutoff. Where last year, fifth place got 65K. This year, if they follow that agreement, it'll be 113,000. I'm wondering if we'll see, any of those guys in the top 5 do that. Say, hey, I'm going to start cherry picking. I know, the big name that keeps coming up who might do this from what I've heard, and obviously there's no hard and fast, nothing that has been for certain said, but Sheldon Haudenschild is the name I keep hearing that might do this, where he might just start bouncing around, which, if you look at Sheldon Haudenschild, that might not be a bad move, right? The kid, I say kid, he's like 30, but dude, the guy on any night is a threat to win, especially if he's at one of them tracks that really fits him well. You get him to them fast, high banked half miles. I mean, the dude's crazy, right? So I could definitely see someone like him being like, yeah, I've got a better shot at making more money if I just go hit these big events, right? Bouncing between outlaws and all-stars and that type of thing.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see guys do that. I really wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me to see maybe some bigger name drivers start to do that too. I think the video Sheldon put out should be eye-opening to the World Racing Group.
Yeah,
because
it should.
One, it should shock the hell out of them that guys are basically racing for pennies anymore. With the rising prices of everything, $10,000 don't go a whole
Yeah.
as far as it used to.
Oh God, no. God, no.
And yeah, I mean, will it be hard to raise the purses? Maybe. Can they do it? Absolutely. There's not one doubt in my mind that they can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of them actually doing it. It's crazy to think that teams are spending $500,000 to $1 million for a sprint car operation just to go out to win $10,000.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We're not saying that every race needs to be 50K to win, right?
No,
but more than 10,000. And that's the thing. It doesn't even have to be a lot more. Even if World Racing Group came out and said, hey, look, man, from now on, our regular shows are going to pay $12,500. I mean, just $2,500 more. Because you start looking at that over the course of 50 races, right? Like that's a big jump in prize fund, right? If you start going, hey, we're going to do 12.5 to win, and then we're going to have that increase, right? You could do it as a percentage increase all the way through the top 10 or 20 or whatever, because they do whatever it is to show up, $1,000 to show up or whatever it is, right? So we're going to increase it by X amount all the way down. If they did something like that, right? Just a, 15%, 20% increase, that would be huge. It would be huge because it's just them saying, hey, look, man, we hear you and we want to give back, right? We want to help you guys. We want to make sure, they put that out with this announcement, right? They said, and I'm quoting Carlton Reimers here. He said, we listened to the drivers and team owners and put together a lucrative program for 2023 that we believe will benefit them greatly. It is important to make sure that we support the teams that help us put on the greatest show on dirt every week. And it is important. But I also do believe that this is them realizing that, hey, our defending champion and Kyle Larson, who, even though he's a NASCAR driver, is still one of the biggest names in dirt, are doing this midweek series, right? We've got to do something to be able to handle this.
Yeah, and that should be the kick in the nuts for them, knowing that one of their full-time regulars is going to partner with Kyle Larson to make this what I think could be a big hit of a sprint car series. And I think it's just so hard to say because they changed the schedule for next year. They damn near took out the whole West Coast swing. Um, and in my mind, if you're gonna do that, just pay them more because there's some really good racetracks on the West Coast. I
Yeah.
know the West Coast folks. I know a lot of them are upset and angry because
Mm-hmm.
of them cutting it out. But we're gonna go to Pennsylvania 10 times in a season.
Yep.
Um, but then again, on the other hand, you gotta think fuel prices aren't going down
No, they're not.
by any means,
Yeah.
and how we're talking about the purses and stuff, and people don't realize that out of them purses, you still got to pay. You got to pay all your bills
Mm-hmm. Yep.
for the race team.
Yep.
You got to pay your guys. You're paying them to travel. You're paying everybody's entry fees, this, that, and the other. And that stuff adds up. And consistently racing for $10,000 to win. And yeah, it sounds like a lot of money. It's a lot of money to me because it's $10,000. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But when you have upwards to 3 to 4 other employees to pay,
Yep.
it's tough. It gets tough, and
It
it will be
does.
tough.
Mm-hmm. It does. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting as we get closer. Obviously, next year once we get through Chili Bowl and we got dirt car nationals coming up in February and whatnot. Once we get closer to that, then we'll start to, I'm sure, see some movement on this stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And maybe I'll send a message to a buddy of mine. He was just hired to work for Casey Kane Racing. Maybe I'll shoot him a message and see if we can get some insight or maybe get him on the show.
there you go. That'd be awesome. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen with it, because other big news in the world of sprint car racing is, which I'm stoked about. Big announcement came out literally, I think it was yesterday, and it's huge. So the Eldora Million is back. It is back, and it's the sprint cars. All right. I know that the last couple of years they've been doing it with the late models. It's the sprint cars this year. And I can't wait. So they're going to be doing this when it's going to be Wednesday, or no, was it Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday? It's going to be July 12th and 13th at Eldora Wing Sprint Cars. Winner's purse of over $1 million. The total purse is 1.4 million. It is an unsanctioned event. Now, why this is so important is because July 14th through the 16th is the King's Royal. Okay? Like, it's literally it's the same freaking weekend. We just talked about that agreement. This event is not 48 hours or 100 miles away. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to swing this, because I cannot imagine that the Outlaws would not want to run this race, right? Like, who's not going to want to run this race?
Could you imagine going to Eldora to watch this million, to watch Sheldon running the million, to show up and him be sitting in the grandstands?
Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't put this, and don't get me wrong, there could be some awesome guys who show up, right? But if you're missing the top Outlaws, it's not the same. It's just not the same.
Absolutely not.
It's not the same.
And here's what I think. I think we should put a car together and go win this $1 million.
Oh man, I tell you what, dude. I just had some really, really big news about I gotta wait for everything to be finished up. I just got it. Looks like me and my brother are gonna be getting a business, and it's a really, really good, really successful, really lucrative business. And yeah, if everything works out the way that it should, the plan to go racing again is there. It'll be about
Awesome.
a year to 18 months out. So I gotta make sure this all goes through first. But yeah, I don't know if we'll be running the million, but we'll be running something. So,
But not to
but
get off
yeah,
the subject,
yeah,
but could you imagine that?
yeah,
Pulling in
exactly.
pulling in Deldora to watch this $1 million race in hopes to see some outlaw racers
Mm-hmm.
and them to be parked outside the gates.
Yep.
That, in my eyes, would be the biggest slap in the face to these guys because World Racing Group wants to be freaking greedy and not let them race. Yeah, I get it. They're gonna be in Attica, but let them run. Let
Yeah.
them run in the million. Don't let it count towards their 4 races that they get a season because why? Kings Royal's that week.
Yeah. And it's
They're
at the
already
same
going to
track.
be in town.
Yeah. They're already at the same freaking place, you
But
know.
how you might see some guys save if they don't do it that way. You might see some guys just keep them 2 races in their back pockets in hopes to go towards the million. I'm excited to see how it's gonna work out and play out
Me
because I
too.
think you're gonna see some guys that's not really race sprint cars a whole lot come out of the woodwork
Oh yeah.
for this.
I'm with you. I absolutely think that.
I think
Um,
you're gonna pull from everybody. I think you're gonna see some USAC guys throw the wings on. You'd
mm-hmm.
be stupid to not try it.
Yeah. You put $1 million up, man, for you'd be amazed at how many people are going to start
As long
showing
as
up
that
for that.
as long as that Marks guy don't show up, everybody have a chance.
Yeah. As long as those damn freaking
And
posse guys stay out of there.
here's the even better part with it being in King's Royal week. You you sweep the whole week while you're up there. That's a lot of money you're taking home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, and look,
Hard to do. It'll be hard to do, but
yes, it will.
holy shit, could you imagine that?
Yeah, it will. But they're going to be at Attica July 11th, right? So, I mean, that's if you're looking at that from Attica, you know, that should be okay. The 13th, right? That should fall outside that whole, you know, obviously, I don't know the distance between Attica and Rossburg, Ohio.
I think it's like right around 2 hours, maybe
Yeah.
more.
So, you know, it's probably about 100 miles, right? 75, 100 miles, depending on how fast you're driving. But 48-hour window, you know what I mean? It's right on the edge of that. That makes sense, right? Like that's okay. The question that I'm having is, you know, Thursday night, the 13th is the million, right? I think like, that's the big one because the 14th is the night before the King's Royal. So because of that, is that not, hey, can't run it? That's what we're gonna have to wait and see. I would imagine, because Tony Stewart's not stupid. I would imagine Tony Stewart would know that the top guys are going to be there before doing this. Otherwise, he would have figured out a way to kind of do this in that window. So I've
Yeah.
got to think that they're going to be able to run this and it not hurt them. You know
And
what I
hey,
mean?
I think we need to give Tony Stewart the biggest pat on the back for doing this just for sprint car racing in general.
Oh
There's
yeah.
there's never been this high of a payout for a wing race ever.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, this is history in the making, and I like the idea of swapping it from the late models to the sprint cars because then you just give everybody from different types of racing to have an opportunity at this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think it's
And
awesome.
and I think more freaking tracks around the United States needs to get on board with this shit. I get it. Tony Stewart's got a lot of money in his back pocket, but still,
Yes.
more tracks can pull this off. It'd be hard to do, but they can. Whether it be, I mean, it don't even have to be a million.
No.
Yeah, it
That's the
could be
thing. It doesn't.
100,000 to 200,000 to win,
Yeah.
and you'd put your racetrack on the map.
Yeah. Look at the Knoxville Nationals, right? The winner's
Yeah,
not getting $1 million in that. You know what I mean? But it's the obviously it's the Knoxville Nationals, but the reason why that thing blew up to the way that it did, a lot of that has to do with the purse. It's why the King's Royal is such a big deal, right? If the King's Royal was 10K, you'd be like, okay, cool, I get a crown. Awesome. You know what I mean? It's a
and
big deal because it's so much money. That's what
yeah,
makes it a big deal.
and this is where it pisses me off that the Chili Bowl promoter does not change the payout.
Yeah, because
But
that's
he's gonna pay more for the payout to move a fucking screen than the payout of the race.
Yeah, that because the amount of money that they're bringing in for Chili Bowl is insane.
That is the biggest slap in the face. Now, I'm going to get a lot of scrutiny for making that comment, but it's 2022. We're going
Yeah.
on 2023. It's time for every sanctioning body, every racetrack, start raising your purses a little bit. They
Yeah.
don't have to be high.
Yeah.
You don't have to break any records, but
They just got to be better.
yeah, I mean, we're not talking about the weekend warriors that
Yeah.
a non-wing sprint car race pays $1,500 to win. We're
Mhm.
talking about the national, the best of the best, whether
Mhm.
it be USAC, Power I, and up.
Yep. Yeah. Raise them purses. Needs to
I
happen.
mean, when you're bringing in $1 million or more for that Chili Bowl, and I'm getting on a rant already about it.
Yeah.
We ain't even to the damn Chili Bowl yet, Tommy. But when you're bringing in that much money and you're going to spend a fortune to move a fucking screen, somebody's got to tell him, hey, bud, we got to put some of this money into this purse, or we're going to keep losing the big name drivers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which
Now,
is
granted, Kyle
happening.
Larson's having a third kid, so that's part of the reason why he's not running the Chili Bowl. And I don't blame him that he's not either.
No, me neither. So yeah, definitely going to be interesting, but it's awesome. The Eldora Million is back. It is a good thing.
I think you should come from California.
Dude, that is one I want to make.
One race to come watch.
I would love to go back there.
I'd
for
take
that.
off work just to meet you up there.
Yeah, I would love to go back there for that. No joke. That would be awesome. I'll have to see what happens.
That'd be a hell of a race to break your Eldora cherry.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Well, if I'm going to go to Eldora for that week or for that race, I'm going to be there for the week. Yeah.
Well, and you'd be done.
I got to watch the Eldora Million and the King's Royal, right?
And then you'd get to take everything in just from Eldora. And I brag on Eldora a lot because it's a working class environment. It's a blue collar racetrack. You can take yourself there and eat cheaper at Eldora than you can at McDonald's.
Which is awesome.
Better. And the food's way better.
Yeah. A lot of racetrack food.
You'll eat a pizza burger and you'll take 15 of them back to California with you.
Yeah, we don't have anything like that out here. All right. So, moving on. So, wrap the show up today. We got some more big news in the world of dirt racing.
And it makes me sick thinking about this one.
The Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, as they have announced a chase for the championship. So, Lucas Oil Late Model, the Dirt Series, they just revealed a chase for the championship and a $1 million point fund for 2023. So,
I like the point fund.
I like the point fund too. So here's the way that this is going to work is the new model is going to be an elimination style model designed to reward basically those who do the best. In addition to the revitalized championship format, more than $470,000 has been added to the championship points fund, which brings the grand total to just over $1 million. Think NASCAR's playoff series. This is essentially what you've got here. All right. So they've got rounds of eliminations. The first round of eliminations, it's going to be 15 drivers. Okay. Now, one thing that I kind of question about this is the fact that you have a lot of guys, right? I don't think does the Lucas Oil Late Model Series even have 15 guys that run every race? You know what I mean?
If they don't, they will now.
Well, yeah, but not only that, but think about it. Jonathan Davenport this year, for example, and we talked about him just a little while ago. Keep in mind, he picks and chooses where he runs. He goes where the money is, right? Jonathan Davenport finished 15th in points. So now Jonathan Davenport can essentially just pick and choose wherever he wants to run, make sure that he stays in the top 15. And as long as he's in that top 15 come the playoff time, Now he's got a shot at the championship. Think about that, right? Because he's one of the best there is, right? If he's in the all he's got to be is top 15, and now he's got a shot at winning the championship. Think about that. If they're going to allow that, I don't know if there's some kind of minimum that you have to run. I don't know that, but I would think they would have to implement something on that.
From looking at
80% or something.
Yeah, from looking at their points from last season, it looks like they had about 7 guys racing every race.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I take that back, 6.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So think about it. Jonathan Davenport, right? If he's in the playoff, I'd put him up against anybody to win the championship. You know what I mean? I'd put that dude up against anybody to win the championship. So
and maybe this is their way of keeping guys with them.
Maybe it is. You know, I don't know. You know, they haven't. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. Because here's the thing. So the first round, they've got the round of 15. Okay, is essentially from the way it sounds is as at Lucas Oil Speedway. Okay, now the round of 12 is going to be July 15th at Lucas Oil Speedway. Now, in between those two events, the round of 15 and the round of 12, there's like 3 races. So I don't know if they're going to be awarded points between each one, and then it like after they get through the elimination round, are they going to do like NASCAR and they kind of reset thing? I don't know how they don't say how all of that is working in here. They give you these beautiful paragraphs on all the sponsors, but they don't tell you exactly how it's going to be doing. So essentially, they're going to be whittling it down to the final 4. All right. And that's going to be the finale is going to be at, I believe it's Eldora. Yes. I believe it's drivers will continue to earn points at every event throughout the season based on the traditional championship point structure. At the season finale, points for the Big River Steel 4 drivers will be consolidated. The first of the 4 drivers to cross the finish line in the 43rd annual Dirt Track World Championship will be crowned the 2023 Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. So yeah, they're going to do essentially like NASCAR does, where there's going to be points, traditional points earned throughout. They whittle this down, and then whoever wins the finale is the championship. Is the champion. They got to make the final 4, but they're the champion. So their point series fund is almost identical to the World of Outlaws. The champion gets $200,000. Now, here's the deal. They do have some bonuses that they're implementing, for the advancing teams. So, you know, at Lucas Oil, you know, the road to Wheatland, it's $2,500 for first. 15th gets $500. The Summit Racing Equipment Super 12 first gets $5,000, 12th gets $1,000. The Great 8 first gets $7,500, 8th gets $1,500. Big River Steel 4 first gets $10,000, 4th gets $2,000, and then obviously you've got the finale for the championship. So the points fund was $935,000. Then you've also got $66,000 in cash bonuses. So that's the way that they're doing this. I'm torn about this, man. I really am. Now, here's the thing. They had this to say. They said, only twice in our series history has the championship been contested at the season finale. Now, the Dirt Track World Championship is an event that is worthy of crowning a champion. So not only will the crown jewel pay $100,000 to win, but now the race inside the race is worthy of the World Championship. So that's going to be the thing. They're going to have their 4 finalists. They're also going to, it's also a $100,000 to win event, which is cool. So a lot of big money on the line. I got to say though, man, I don't know if I don't know if I like this. What about you, Keith? What's your thoughts on this, man?
I'm kind of on the fence about it. I think I think the only good thing about it is usually you see the points championship damn near wrapped up with like 8 or 9 races left. I think it's just it's tough without even watching it. You know what I mean? It's just hard
Mm-hmm.
to judge. I think I think it I don't like it, but I do like it at the same time, if that makes any sense.
I get you.
The reason why I like it is because you're not you're not going to have a champion wrapped up till the last race,
Mm-hmm.
which is good. Don't like it because you're going to see some guys get taken out to advance through the other rounds. I know we didn't see it in NASCAR, but this ain't NASCAR.
No. Mm-mm. It's dirt racing, right?
Yeah, I mean these guys will do about anything to win a race. I mean, we've seen past late model races, guys get pushed off the racetrack for a win for
Yeah.
third.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to
So
implement this chase, and it's gonna be enticing because the championship's paying more than it ever has with Lucas Oil late
yeah.
models.
Yeah. And
Ah,
yeah, see,
just
here's and we were talking about this before we started the show today. And one thing I like the idea, I like the concept of it, okay? But also I love the traditional format, right? Like now I understand late models are different than sprint cars, but you look at the sprint cars, right? Let's take the World of Outlaw sprint car series. Dude, every world finals that championship is still up for grabs. Now, sometimes Brad Sweet's got a lot, the year that I was there, Brad Sweet, all he had to do was, I think it was night number 2, once he finished his heat race or something like that, as long as he like didn't wreck, as long as he made the feature, then he was champion, right? But this last season, it was a battle. I mean, it went down to the, like, Gravel had a shot. It might have been an outside shot, but he still had a shot, So to me, the sprint car championship has been incredible with the Outlaws, and we talked about it all season long. It was a battle all season long. Now, the late models is a different story. I like this, that they're trying something different. I agree with you. I think it could be cool that you can just be in that top 15 and now you've got a shot to win the championship. So look, it does give people like a Jonathan Davenport a shot. I got to see how they're going to actually do these rounds though before I'm going to be completely sold on it, because I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if it's, are you going to be seeded like they do in NASCAR? You get points from top to bottom, right? First place has this, 15th has this, and now you're going to earn points for the next 3 races, and then we're going to eliminate the bottom. Is that how it's going to work? Is it? I don't know. Until I see that for sure, I'm not going to know. But I like the concept of it, and I like the fact that they're trying it. And if it, to me, I think it's cool because this could be their thing, right? This could be the Lucas Oil way, and then the Outlaws with their late model series stay traditional. And now you've got 2 different things. As a consumer, I do like the variation of it because
yeah.
it adds a level of difference to it.
Well, and after looking at the payout breakdown for the whole thing, as a racer, I like it because you get bonus money for the rounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the championship, you get $200,000.
Yep.
I think that's the highest it's been in Lucas Oil history.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Don't
sure it
quote me
is.
on it because I don't know, because I don't pay attention to it. I'll probably pay attention to it now when it gets to the playoffs. Just I'm curious to see how it's going to work out. Because
I
when
am
you
too.
only have 5 guys running for a championship, I don't know if they're going to tie their hands behind their backs and say, look, the only way you can do this is if you run the full schedule.
Yeah.
Um,
Or a certain percentage of it. You got to run
yeah,
80% or something
and
like that.
and I
Yeah.
know Tim McCready, he ran the full schedule and he bounced around. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, like we've said, Jonathan Davenport ain't a points racer.
No.
He's a money racer,
Yep.
and I respect the hell out of him for it. He made $2 million last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you do that, you can pick and choose whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
Yep.
mean, we'll just have to see how it works out. I'm on the fence on it. I'm in between. I'm torn. I think it's almost kind of like, let's see what it looks like this year, and then next year after it, give a better assessment. I mean, as an outsider looking in, if I was a late model racer, I'd probably go run that full schedule just because you might have a chance.
Well, yeah, now you just need to be, you just got to be there at the end, right? You
Yeah.
just got to be there
And
at the end.
and maybe this opens the door for guys that can't beat the Jonathan Davenports to make a little extra money
Mm-hmm.
and make it through this championship. Maybe you'll see the joiners of the world and guys that don't really run any certain late model series.
Yep.
I hope the World of Outlaws don't go to this because
I don't either. I would like to see them keep
I
it
also don't
the
like it.
same. Yes. Yes. I still like
Because
my
I mean,
tradition.
imagine being Jonathan Davenport and you win 10 races and you don't win the championship.
It, exactly. Right.
I mean,
I
I guess
could,
the same can be said about NASCAR, but still.
yes, but I can make a compelling case, right? If you look at the championship this year in Lucas Oil, Tim McCreadie won. I could make a case that if you were to look at this last season overall, you could make the argument that if, let's say they did this playoff thing this year, right? And you had Tim McCreadie and Brandon Sheppard. I can make a case for either one of them to be a champion, right? You can even make the case if you start looking a little bit further down at guys who won a lot of races but didn't run every single race, right? They weren't there all the time. So you talk about someone like Devin Moran or Jonathan Davenport, right? You also have like a Hudson O'Neal, guys who won 4, 5, 6 races. You can make the case that, hey, these are championship caliber drivers, even if they're not driving the series full time. So if it
Yeah.
opens up the possibility for those guys to now compete for the championship, I think that's cool. But also in a way, like I said, there's got to be some kind of filter there where it's like, look, man, you can't just show up and run, whatever. You've got to be here a certain percentage of the time to be eligible for this. So we'll have to see what happens with that if they've got more information on it. Because obviously right now this is just an announcement. It's just their press release. It's not like they give us the fully detailed, series packet rules, everything. I don't have that. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to get it. So I have no desire to look through all that crap. I'm going to wait till it's in a much more easier format. But yeah, it's a obviously a unique twist. It's definitely different. I'm with you. I hope we don't start seeing this spreading across the rest of the dirt series. I like the traditional point stuff. I don't need a playoff in every flipping sport that I watch. So hopefully the Outlaws stay away from this. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Should be interesting. Because yeah, it's definitely different. But yeah, a lot of stuff happened in the dirt world, which has been cool, man. So it's been a good week. Definitely looking forward to next year racing. Which, man, it's getting close. It's almost Christmas, and we're only like a couple months away from Dirt Car Nationals. So it's right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, we got indoor season coming up, and in the Chili Bowl, I know I spoke on it before, and I think that's probably one of the best races of the year.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. Till the $1 million race, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we can hate on the purse and stuff like that, but if you love dirt racing, you don't even have to love midgets. If you love dirt racing, the Chili Bowl is a must watch. It's a must
100%.
go to event. There's nothing else like it. I've been to races all over the country, right? I've never been to, Kings Royal or Knoxville Nationals, but I've been to big, huge events, right? We have Gold Cup out here. I went to World Finals. I've been to Nationals and Silver Cups and all kinds of stuff. The Chili Bowl, in terms of just the event, there's nothing else like it, where you've got 4 days of racing, of insane racing, the whole day. You can spend the whole day there because between the racing, you've got the trade shows that's going on, and it's huge. I mean, there's something. If you're looking for something for a race car, it is there. I mean, there's so much stuff there. It's crazy, man. You've got to check it out. It's an amazing event.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah,
it's a race for everybody to go look at. Before we wrap up. Hailie Deegan is back in the truck series. She's racing for Thor Sport next year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Could be a good move for her, going to a team with championship caliber guys that's been in the playoffs, some guys that could maybe take them under her wing and
Yeah, I thought that
do
was a
some-
good I thought that was a good move. I had heard some rumors that she might go Xfinity race, and I was kind of hoping she would do another year in the truck. I know the
Yeah,
truck can be a shit show sometimes, but I do think it is
it's a good
a good
stepping stone.
experience. Yeah, I really do. So yeah, that's good, man. Well, hopefully she can compete for a championship next year. Because, like you said, when you're with a better caliber team, it just makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah, it makes life funner.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So
And then I think the only other NASCAR news is Kevin Harvick's supposed to be making an announcement at Daytona on whether he's going to race again in 2020 after 2023. So
Yep.
that'll be exciting to see.
Yep. So I'm hoping he's going to stick around.
And if
Yeah,
not,
I'm
and if
hoping
he
he's gonna
does
stick around.
retire, I hope he stays in the sport at some capacity, which I'm sure he'll. I'd
Yeah,
say more
I'm
than
pretty sure.
likely, if he leaves, retires from the sport, he's going to work for Fox.
I think he'll do, whether it's in the booth or a car ownership, something. I think he's going to be around. That's just
Well,
what
I
he
mean,
does.
he's in a partnership with a pretty dominant NASCAR team now. I know
Yeah.
his son Keelan is part of the driver development program,
Hmm.
so it'd be interesting.
Yep. So, well, all right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week's show. Please download, subscribe, share, follow, leave us a comment, rating, review. All that good stuff helps us get the show out there with, I don't know, the algorithms, whatever the hell those things are. I don't know what they are. It just helps us. So just please keep doing what you're doing. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we will be back here on the 29th. So everybody have a Merry Christmas, a happy holiday. Keith, my man, enjoy your Christmas with the family.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You do the same. And
I
everybody out
will.
there that supports us, you guys have a good holiday weekend.
That's right. So everybody enjoy the holidays, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Until then, as always, take care.